Good afternoon again. Thank you everyone for joining us for our third and final part of our series celebrating females into combat arms positions here in the Montana Army National Guard. I am here today in beautiful Bozeman, Montana with Sergeant Alex Green, who is a combat medic with the 1st of the 163rd Combined Arms Battalion. And we are excited to have you here today. If you guys have been watching our three-part series, you'll notice that Sergeant Green's in a little bit different uniform than the two previous. Colonel Dorval is a full-time technician in Helena, and Lieutenant Schock has been working on ADOS orders, which means she's on some temporary orders working for the Montana Army National Guard. And then we have Sergeant Green, who is actually a student. She just came from class at MSU here in Bozeman, so she's joining us today, so we appreciate you being here with us.
Thank you, ma'am.
So let's go ahead and get started.
All right.
So can you give us a little bit of information about your background?
Yeah, so I grew up in a small Montana town called Hot Springs up on the Flathead Reservation. I grew up playing a lot of sports. I was involved in a lot of clubs like 4-H. Spent most of my summers going over to Seattle to watch some Mariners games with my grandpa. I joined my senior year of high school, went to basic training about a month after graduation, and then in January 2015, I came over to Bozeman to go to MSU and start my degree in psychology.
Awesome. So what motivated you to join the National Guard?
I have a couple stories on that, actually. I remember back, I want to say I was in 3rd or 4th grade, I was at lunch sitting at the table with my friends, and I looked up and saw this recruiter. Back then it was our older uniforms, and he went through the lunch line and sat at the teacher's table, and I just thought that was the coolest thing ever. And this big recruiter in my tiny little Montana town, and that was just a really cool memory for me. And then my junior year, actually, I was in class and someone came over the comms and they said, hey, there's a recruiter in the library if anybody would like to go talk to him. And I was like, you know, I think I'm pretty interested in that. So I went down there and I talked to him, and that night I went home and talked to my mom, and both my mom and my dad had been in the Army. They'd gone active duty for one tour. And just talking to her, I became really interested in serving and seeking out that opportunity and looking at the school benefits and just the personal benefits of doing that. I was really interested. So I joined my November of my senior year.
Okay, and where did you go to basic training at?
I went to Fort Jackson, South Carolina.
Can you tell us a little bit about basic?
Yeah, definitely. I really just remember the good parts at this point because it feels like it was so long ago. I remember a lot of physically and mentally challenging things about basic training, and I think that the saying basic training is the most fun I never want to have again is definitely pretty true for me. I remember a lot of rucking, and a lot of rucking to the range to go practice our qual skills with our weapons, and a lot of camaraderie with my platoon and in my bay with the other females. So I remember that actually being pretty fun.
Yes, awesome.
So I went from South Carolina over to Fort Gordon, Georgia. I actually joined as a radio operator. So I did a 12-week school over there, and I had a little bit more independence and a little more autonomy with my schooling over there. And the instructors were a lot more individualized. They helped us out with our skills a little more specifically. And then we went through in a cohort type training. So I got to have this really cool experience where I was really close with my classmates, and even with my instructors, I'm still pretty good friends with quite a few people I went through job skill training with, actually.
And how long ago was that?
That was in 2014.
Okay. Yeah, so 6 years
Yeah.
and still in contact. That's awesome. I love what you said about basic, because mine was even longer ago, so I probably remembered even less. But what I remember too is kind of similar to what you said. Looking back, it's all the good times, and when you're there going through it, it seems like it takes forever. And then as soon as you're at graduation, it's like, wow, that was really fast, and it flew by.
I think the memory that I have that's most salient right now is it was the first day. So we're doing a bunch of push-ups and we're getting our lockers all set up, and I miscounted doing the push-ups, and so I stopped before everybody else. And my drill sergeant was like, you know what, Private Green, like, why don't you just keep doing push-ups? And it was the most embarrassing thing back then, and now I think it's so funny because I was just like, how did I miscount that? Like, it was so easy, but yeah, it's such a good memory now.
Mm-hmm. Cool. So what, we have a lot of military benefits, and they extend across from education to healthcare. Which ones of those have you taken advantage of?
I honestly think I've used just about all of them. So I joined with a bonus and a GI Bill kicker. and I used my bonus and my GI Bill kicker a little bit in my undergrad. Mostly I used the federal tuition assistance and the state scholarship for that. And then in my graduate degree, I've used my GI Bill and my GI Bill kicker basically all the way throughout. And then when I started my second enlistment, I got another bonus and student loan repayment, which has basically paid for my graduate degree.
Okay, so you have a bachelor's degree,
Mhm.
working on a master's. So you use most of the educational benefits going through getting your bachelor's. How much would you say you have in student loans after taking advantage of the benefits on our side?
Almost nothing. I want to say maybe 2,000, something pretty low like that.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. So people are coming out with thousands of dollars in debt,
Mhm.
so good for
Yeah.
you.
Yeah.
How did you end up becoming a medic?
I actually joined, like I said, as a radio operator. So I came in actually wanting to be a medic, and I took the opportunity to get those school benefits as a radio operator. So when I became a specialist about 2 or 3 years into my contract, it came out that the state wasn't taking my type of radio operator anymore. So they said, hey, for you to get your promotion to become an NCO, we need you to choose a different job. And I took that opportunity to go back to being a medic. So I asked them to put me on that promotion list, and I did all of my school training. And luckily enough, I was picked up on my first promotion list, and I signed actually to come over to the Combat Arms Battalion. So I was in there for about a year, getting ready, being trained by the medics who had already been trained up over there. And then in 2018, after I graduated with my bachelor's, I went up to Helena, to the training institute over there for about 2.5 months and got my medic.
So combat medic is actually one of our more challenging jobs, both physically and mentally. And there's a lot of skills that you learn that transfer over to the civilian side. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, definitely. The first thing that comes to my mind is that we are nationally registered EMTs. There are 3 phases that we go through to become medics in the Army, and the first phase that we have to pass to even continue that training is to become an EMT. So that's something that's really cool because we get that certificate and then we can turn that into the state, and we can also become state registered EMTs. Along with that is every 3 years your EMT license lapses. And through the Army, we have a course called the CMT course, or the recertification course. So we go through the Army and we recertify our medical and our EMT license every 2 years.
Very cool. Do you have a favorite memory from the military so far?
I do, and I think people are gonna think I'm absolutely crazy when I say this, but I would say going to the National Training Center down in Fort Irwin, California in 2019. It was our most recent AT that we were able to do. And it's such an intense, hard training that's why I say people would think I'm crazy for saying that. And as a medic, we get such real world training. They have some old prior service people who had lost limbs during the war, and they volunteer to be mobilized, and they bring them to the medics, and they allow us to work on these real people with these real injuries. And it's such great training, and it gives us that ability to build that camaraderie and that culture and that working relationship with all of those other medics, that it's such good training, and it's so much fun to be a part of that. I think that's honestly probably the best training that I've had.
Yeah, you're right. Most people don't consider NTC, National Training Center, with favorite or fun.
Yeah.
What is it like serving in an infantry unit?
It's challenging, and it's also fun. We are very training oriented, so we try to maintain this balance of we need to get our training done. We have to qualify with gunnery every year. We have to check certain boxes, and we're so individualized. We focus a lot on making sure that our soldiers get their schools. We make sure that our people are getting what they need inside and out of drill. And we're focusing on that big picture of making sure that as a unit and as a battalion, we are qualified in our jobs and making sure that we're getting the best training possible.
Mm-hmm. So what type of person do you see as being a good fit for the Montana Army National Guard?
I think someone that's motivated and driven, and I think that it holds true for the Montana Army National Guard that we are an organization that you get out what you put in. If it's something that you're really motivated to be a part of, we have career opportunities, and we also have the citizen soldier opportunity and a lot of help with school. So I think that if that's something that you're thinking about and service and leadership is something that is really a calling for you, I think that we have a place for you in the Montana Army National Guard.
Absolutely. What message would you give to women in particular, but also men who may be thinking about serving or contemplating service in the Montana Army National Guard?
I would say do it. It has been such a life-changing experience for me to be in the Montana Army National Guard. We have this community where we really take care of each other. And for those women thinking about joining, I would say do it. We're so excited to be opening up those combat arms positions, and we're so excited to bring you in. So we're open and we're ready, and we are so excited to have them. And even for those men and just those people thinking about it, like, we have all of those opportunities for really anyone thinking about it. So we're so excited to welcome more people in.
Thank you, Sergeant Green, very much for joining us today. Great job on the interview. And to you, thank you again for joining us on our third and final part of our series. I love that the theme throughout all three of these interviews has been opportunities. Every one of the females that I've talked to have talked about opportunities, and I couldn't agree with them more. This is an exciting series for me to do personally. More than 20 years ago, when I first became a lieutenant, I was actually attached to a combat engineer company in North Dakota. And so this is exciting. This has now become official that females can finally join combat arms positions here in Montana. And we're very excited about that. If you would like more information, not only on our combat arms positions, but any of our positions here in Montana, please contact one of our career counselors. You can find their contact information at montanaguard.net. And we look forward to hearing from you. Thank you again for joining us. Thank you.
Thanks.